Hi and welcome to your third sleep story. Did you get a good night's sleep yesterday? If you didn't, don't worry about it. It can take a few sessions to get your sleep patterns right, but it will definitely happen. A few tips to help you. Make sure your room is comfortable and that it's not too warm or too cold. And try to ensure that there's no light in the room to distract you or to keep you awake. You can even follow a little bedtime routine like the one we spoke about in the Sleep by the River series. Have a warm bath, drink a glass of warm milk, or just clear your bedroom before you sleep. All of this, along with tonight's bedtime story, should help you find your way to sleep. So lie down comfortably and gently close your eyes as we begin the story. Shruti had never been this far north of the country before. She had lived her whole life in Bangalore, and the furthest she'd been was Mumbai. But for reasons she didn't quite understand, she had always wanted to visit a place near a mountain. Was it a movie that she saw when she was young? Or a picture of the Himalayas in her school book? Or was it that she wanted peace, a respite from the city? She closed her eyes and saw a mountain standing tall and majestic, clouds and snow and a clear blue sky. She felt her body relax, her breath soften. Yes, maybe she thought of the mountainside as a peaceful place. But was it really? There was only one way to find out. And so here she was in Dharamshala at the foothills of the Himalayas. She was staying in a quaint guest house in town, and every morning she would take a walk around the area. As she turned the corner from her guest house towards the main square, the view that greeted her never failed to amaze her. The mountains were always subtly different from the day before. Some mornings, when it was bright and clear, the peaks looked closer than ever, tall and imposing. On others, the clouds seemed to have descended on the mountains, lending everything a blurry, dreamlike quality. In the 1 week that she'd been staying here, she had already met some of the most interesting people, among them a monk from a nearby monastery, the daughter of a Swiss cheesemaker volunteering at an educational organization, a photographer from Chennai running workshops in the hills, and a young student, Ravi, who was studying philosophy. On her last weekend there, Ravi kept his promise to take her up to what he called the secret waterfall. He had warned her that it was quite a trek, but that the views were worth it. And so on a sunny Saturday morning, Shruti rode pillion on Ravi's bike as they wound their way up from the town. The stately trees that lined the road were a deep emerald green, their elegant branches reaching up towards the blue, blue sky. It was a mild morning, the bite of the late October chill softened by the intensity of the sun. They turned off the road at a tiny little tea shop that had no name and parked next to an abandoned temple. Shruti and Ravi set off with their backpacks, venturing off a path that led to a shed, beside which a couple of cows grazed. The first section of the trek was flat and easy, the grass a vivid shade of green, the sun beating down on their heads. And as they walked, a comfortable silence descended upon them. Apart from the occasional crack of a twig underfoot or the call of a bird, it was absolutely quiet. The day was so clear, not a cloud in the sky, that Shruti could see the mountains clearly, rising way up above them. On the right of the trail that they were following, the earth rose gently upwards, and on their left, the greenery was thicker as the land sloped down more steeply. Shruti felt the brush of leaves against her skin as she walked along. The path itself appeared level, but Shruti could tell by her gradually quickening breath that they were in fact on an incline. She felt a few beads of sweat gather on her forehead and at the back of her neck. As they came to a patch of level ground, clear of trees and bushes, they paused to survey the view. Shruti took a long, deep breath and felt the cold air rushing in through her nostrils as she inhaled. As she looked out at the landscape before them, she felt her body relax, her muscles loosen. The view was magnificent. The mighty mountain range stood in the distance in all its glory. There had been a storm a few weeks before, and Shruti had woken the morning after to find that the peaks had been capped with snow. A few wispy clouds hovered near the peaks now, casting delicate shadows below. The slopes in the foreground were carpeted in dense green foliage. The greys and greens of the scenery were serene and exquisitely set off by the bright blue sky above. "Are you ready to go on?" Ravi asked, and Shruti nodded, feeling suddenly refreshed and filled with energy. As they continued, the trail grew narrower and steeper, almost disappearing in places so that the two had to scramble through shrubs and watch their every step. Plants and bushes turned to trees that formed a canopy above them. In the shade, the air was cool and damp, speckled with beams of sunlight that cut through the branches. Shruti found that she was completely focused despite the ache in her legs and the increasing difficulty of the trail. She took a few slow, deep breaths, her eyes alert and her mind totally aware of every movement and sound around her. Even as the path grew rocky in places, she kept her breath calm and her mind composed. So focused was Shruti that it was only when she heard a shout from Ravi somewhere in the distance that she realized he had gone far ahead. She scanned the path in front of her but couldn't see him anywhere. So she began running up the trail looking for him, and just as she was about to get worried, she heard the sounds of rushing water. And that's when she caught sight of Ravi, sitting just behind a rock. He was exclaiming in excitement on having reached their destination. As they grew closer, the sound got louder, echoing back to them. They scrambled down a few large rocks, and there before them lay the secret waterfall. Shruti could see where the rush of water appeared to begin on a slope above them, and tracing its descent, she saw how it fell in sheets down a cliff, before pooling amid rocks in two spots, and then continuing its journey down the mountainside. Where the water formed natural pools, it was a clear emerald green, glistening in the sun. Shruti had never seen anything quite as beautiful. A few bright pink flowers grew in patches of greenery besides the pool, and some of them had fallen into the water where their petals floated gently, in slow, swirling patterns. "This is worth the exhaustion, isn't it?" asked Ravi, smiling as he gestured towards the waterfall. "It's my favorite place to come when I need to be alone." "Absolutely," exclaimed Shruti, still unable to tear her eyes away from the mesmerizing movements of the water. "I can't believe how gorgeous it is." Shruti knelt beside the water and reached one hand inside. The water was cold, so much colder than it looked in the bright sunshine. With both hands cupped, she splashed her face and gasped softly as the icy water touched her skin. She laughed quietly, sitting down and taking her shoes off. Rolling up her jeans, she dipped her toes inside the water. Ravi sat down beside her, leaning back on his hands and raising his face to the sun. There seemed to be no need for conversation. The sounds of nature was enough. Shruti's toes created quiet ripples in the water, distorting the reflection of the sun so that it shimmered on the surface. She lay down on her back, using her jacket as a pillow, her wet feet stretching out before her. The sun's glare was strong enough that she had to squint to look up at the clear blue sky. She shielded her eyes and gazed up at a single wispy cloud as it drifted by. The air was warm, but every breeze brought a slight chill with it, giving her gentle goosebumps on her arms. The rock beneath her was cool and damp, and a few stray weeds growing around the pool tickled her feet as they swayed. As she closed her eyes, sunspots still danced behind her eyelids. The gurgling rush of water from the fall began to lull her to sleep. She felt the exhaustion draining away, as though the rock, the waterfall, the trees were taking away her tiredness and filling her with fresh energy. Her mind was calm and quiet after the excitement of the trek. She noticed as her mind wandered back over the last week of traveling. She felt a slight pang of sadness when she remembered that she was leaving in just 2 days. But then she brought her mind back to the present, picturing her mind as clear as the blue sky above. She felt the sun warming her face, her neck, and inhaled the clean freshness of the air, enjoying the gentle kiss of the breeze. She smiled to herself as she slowly let her mind and body go, as she fell into a quiet, relaxing sleep.